There is a rare pause in the rhythm of the season, one of those midweek moments where everything slows down just enough to take a breath and actually reflect on where things stand. With the next match not arriving until the weekend, it feels like the perfect time to step away from the usual rush of headlines and instead look inward at the squad as a whole. Not just who has performed, but who truly fits into the bigger picture moving forward. It is that time again to go through the group player by player and ask the difficult questions about what comes next. Looking back at this same exercise a year ago almost feels like revisiting a completely different era. The mood was lighter, the expectations were clearer, and the biggest concern seemed to revolve around how many trophies could be added rather than whether the foundations were strong enough. There was a confidence then, a belief that most of the squad were not only good enough, but part of something steadily building. That optimism shaped a lot of the decisions, with a heavy lean towards keeping the majority of the group together. But football does not stand still, and neither do opinions. A year changes everything. Performances, injuries, consistency, and mentality all play their part in shifting how players are viewed. Some who once looked untouchable now raise doubts, while others who were questioned have quietly proven their worth. That natural evolution is what makes this kind of assessment so fascinating, because it forces a more honest look at where the team truly is rather than where it once appeared to be. Even before diving into the current squad, there is already a sense that this year's review will not be as generous. There are more uncertainties now, more areas where improvement feels necessary rather than optional. It is not about tearing everything down, but it is about recognizing that standing still is not an option, especially for a club with expectations as high as these. Progress demands difficult decisions, and not everyone can be carried forward simply on past contributions or potential. Another layer to consider is the presence of players currently out on loan. In previous seasons, there might have been genuine anticipation about their return and possible impact. This time, it feels different. For several of them, it seems as though their chapter has already been written, even if it has not officially closed yet. They may come back, they may feature in preseason, but the sense is that their futures likely lie elsewhere, perhaps for the benefit of their own careers as much as anything else. That does not mean there will not be surprises. Football has a habit of rewriting narratives when least expected. A player overlooked one season can suddenly become essential the next. Someone barely on the radar can emerge as a key figure with the right opportunity. It has happened before, and it will happen again. That unpredictability is part of what makes this process so intriguing, because no assessment is ever completely final. Still, there are certain realities that cannot be ignored. The squad has grown in numbers, but not always in quality. There are areas where depth exists, yet genuine competition does not. There are positions where reliability has been present, but the next level has remained just out of reach. And perhaps most importantly, there is a growing sense that the team needs a stronger spine, players who can not only perform but elevate those around them. As the focus turns fully to the current group, the challenge becomes clearer. It is not just about deciding who stays and who goes, but about shaping a squad capable of handling the demands of a full season with consistency and resilience. That means balancing experience with energy, maintaining core leaders while injecting fresh hunger, and ensuring that every player contributes to a collective identity rather than simply filling a role. There is also the looming influence of change in leadership, which always brings uncertainty. A new voice, a new vision, and possibly a completely different approach to building the team. That alone can alter the trajectory of several players, giving some a fresh start while quietly closing the door on others. It adds another layer of complexity to every decision, because what fits one system may not fit another. So as the names begin to come under the spotlight, it is not just about judging what has already happened, but anticipating what is needed next. The aim is not perfection, because that rarely exists, but clarity. Clarity on who can be trusted, who still has something to prove, and who may have reached the end of their time here. And with that in mind, the real work begins as the squad is laid out and each role is examined with a sharper, more demanding perspective. As the focus shifts directly onto the squad itself, the goalkeeping situation immediately stands out as one of the most significant areas of change heading into next season. There is a sense that an era is quietly coming to an end, not with a dramatic farewell, but with the understanding that circumstances have simply taken their course. Injuries, contracts, and timing have all combined to leave a gap that will need to be filled, and that naturally raises questions about who is ready to step forward and take on that responsibility. In that context, there is a growing feeling that an opportunity is there for someone already within the squad to claim that number one position. It is not without risk, and it is certainly not a decision that would come without scrutiny, but sometimes progression requires a degree of trust. What has been shown so far suggests there is enough there to justify giving that chance, even if it comes with the understanding that consistency will be key. At the same time, the possibility of a new manager bringing in their own preferred option cannot be ignored, as that has often been the pattern in recent years. Moving into the defensive areas, there is a mix of stability and uncertainty that defines the current situation. On one hand, there are players who have consistently shown their quality when fit, individuals who have proven they can perform at a high level and anchor the backline effectively. On the other hand, injuries and dips in form have exposed just how fragile that stability can be. When key figures are missing, the drop-off has at times been noticeable, and that raises the question of whether the current depth is truly sufficient. There is also a broader issue at center back that has lingered for some time now. While there are dependable options available, there remains a feeling that the team lacks that commanding presence who can take control of games, organize those around him, and bring a level of assurance that lifts the entire defensive unit. It is not about dismissing the contributions of those already there, but rather recognizing that to move forward, an upgrade in that area could make a significant difference. Out wide in the defensive positions, the conversation becomes slightly different. There is clear quality, particularly when everyone is available and fully fit, but the challenge has been maintaining that level consistently across a long stretch of matches. Injuries have disrupted rhythm, and replacements, while capable, have not always been able to replicate the same influence. That creates a situation where depth exists, yet confidence in that depth can fluctuate depending on form and circumstance. At the same time, there are younger players beginning to emerge, and their development adds another layer to the discussion. They bring energy, potential, and moments of real promise, but they also come with the expected inconsistencies of inexperience. The decision then becomes whether to continue integrating them gradually or to seek more established options that can deliver immediately. Striking that balance is never straightforward, especially when expectations remain high. In midfield, the conversation turns towards control, balance, and durability. There are players who have carried a heavy workload, consistently asked to perform at a high level without much rest, and it has started to show. Managing minutes more effectively feels less like a luxury and more like a necessity, because over-reliance on key individuals can have long-term consequences. The quality is there, but it needs to be supported in a way that ensures it can be sustained throughout the season. There is also a sense that the midfield, while technically capable, has not always dictated matches in the way it should. At times, the tempo has drifted, and control has slipped, allowing opponents to gain a foothold. That points towards the need for players who can not only contribute individually, but also shape the overall rhythm of the team. Whether that comes from within the current group or through new additions remains to be seen, but it is clearly an area that requires attention. Further forward, the picture becomes even more complex. There have been goals, there have been moments of quality, but there have also been periods where the attacking play has lacked sharpness and cohesion. Some players have delivered in key moments, stepping up when it mattered, while others have struggled to maintain a consistent level across the campaign. That inconsistency makes it difficult to fully rely on certain options, even if their potential is undeniable. It also raises an important question about the style of play moving forward. If the team evolves to become quicker, more aggressive, and more dynamic, not every current option will naturally fit into that approach. Some may thrive, taking their game to another level, while others may find themselves slightly out of sync with the demands of that system. Identifying who belongs in which category is a crucial part of shaping the squad for what comes next. Ultimately, this entire assessment is not about making definitive judgments in isolation, but about building a clearer picture of what the team needs to progress. It is about understanding where the strengths truly lie, where the weaknesses need to be addressed, and how all of those elements come together to form a cohesive unit capable of competing at the level expected. And as the evaluation continues, each position, each role, and each individual will come under that same level of scrutiny as the process moves deeper into the squad. And as the analysis pushes even deeper, the spotlight naturally falls on those players who sit right on the edge between staying and moving on, the ones who have shown glimpses but have not fully convinced. These are often the most difficult decisions, because the potential is there, the talent is visible in moments, yet the consistency simply has not followed. In a squad aiming to raise its level, carrying too many of those uncertainties can quietly hold everything back. There is a difference between a player who needs time and a player who has already had enough of it. That distinction becomes clearer the longer a season goes on, especially when opportunities have been given and not fully taken. It does not mean those players lack ability, far from it, but sometimes a change of environment is what allows them to rediscover their best form. For the club, it becomes a question of timing, deciding when patience is no longer the most productive path. At the same time, there are others who have embraced their role, even if that role is not always in the starting 11. Squad players, when they understand their importance, can be vital across a long campaign. They provide depth, they maintain standards in training, and when called upon, they deliver reliable performances. Keeping that kind of mentality within the group is essential, especially when competing on multiple fronts where rotation becomes unavoidable. What cannot be ignored, however, is the need for a stronger identity across the entire squad. Too often, performances have fluctuated not just from match to match, but within the same game. That points to something deeper than individual quality, suggesting that the collective understanding is not always as sharp as it needs to be. Building that identity requires more than tactics. It demands players who are fully aligned with the intensity and expectations of the team. There is also the emotional side of these decisions, which is impossible to completely remove. Players who have contributed to important moments, who have built a connection with the supporters, are never easy to let go. But football at this level is rarely sentimental for long. The focus always returns to what gives the team the best chance of improving, of competing, and of achieving success over the course of a full season. Looking ahead, there is a clear sense that this upcoming window will be a defining one, not just in terms of who arrives or departs, but in the overall direction the squad takes. Small adjustments will not be enough if the aim is to push forward in a meaningful way. It may require bold calls, decisions that are not universally popular but are made with a longer vision in mind. And within all of this, there remains that underlying unpredictability that defines football. A player written off today can become essential tomorrow. A signing that raises questions can quickly become a standout performer. That is why every judgment here comes with a degree of caution, because the game has a way of surprising even the most confident assessments. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. A storm has been quietly brewing behind the doors of Celtic Park, and now, whispers are beginning to spill into the open. Reports emerging from within the club suggest that manager Martin O'Neill has reached a boiling point, delivering a furious outburst that has left players and staff alike rattled. According to sources close to the dressing room, O'Neill did not mince his words. In a moment described as explosive and deeply unsettling, he allegedly branded two unnamed players as cancers within the squad, vowing in no uncertain terms that he would eliminate the pair of them. The remark, stark and cutting, has since sparked widespread speculation over who the manager was referring to and what exactly has triggered such a dramatic escalation. Those familiar with the inner workings of the club hint at growing fractures beneath the surface. While results on the pitch have kept major scrutiny at bay, tensions have reportedly been simmering for weeks. Clashes of personality, questions of commitment, and whispered disagreements over tactics are all believed to have contributed to an increasingly fragile atmosphere. What makes the situation all the more compelling is O'Neill's reputation. Long regarded as a steady, authoritative figure, he is not known for public displays of anger, making this alleged dressing room eruption all the more shocking. Some insiders believe the comments were a calculated move to assert control, while others fear it signals a deeper crisis within the squad. Supporters, meanwhile, are left to piece together the fragments. Names are already being floated in fan circles, though nothing has been confirmed. The uncertainty only fuels the intrigue, with many wondering whether decisive action is imminent. If the rumors hold any truth, Celtic may be on the verge of a significant shakeup. Whether this proves to be a turning point or the beginning of further unrest remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. Something is stirring in Glasgow, and it's unlikely to stay contained for long. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.